the earnings season as it kick-started last week. But if we have no more big cues to follow, let's quickly pick up on where you left off, which is Janet Yellen is in India. The U.S. Treasury Secretary is here. This is her third visit in 9 months. She's, of course, meeting the G20, finance ministers. But what's on the agenda? After Beijing, she makes a pit stop in India. Things are getting interesting.
Things are getting quite interesting, and I think her statement is fairly remarkable that India is an indispensable partner. Now, I'm not sure what to make of those words really. Do you have dispensable partners as well? So indispensable partner, yeah, I mean, it still has a sort of upper hand to its connotation. But I think U.S. is fairly clear, and this visit by the Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen, which is equivalent to the Finance Minister of the U.S., being in India right now, and specifically in Gandhinagar at the G20 meeting, pushing for supply chains to be bolstered in India, looking very seriously in the China plus one aftermath on India being that plus one. And I think this mistrust on China, the kind of allegations on China for not really, being fair in its business practices, coming again in the wake of precious metals and their exports being banned out of China, which become an important ingredient for U.S. chip makers, the semiconductor industry. I think all of this augurs well for India in a way that there is some business activity between U.S. and India. It comes at a time when Micron is looking at investing in Gujarat, which is where Janet Yellen made this statement on furthering India's ambit of semiconductor manufacturing, production of fabs. So overall, I think the semiconductor industry, electronics manufacturing, remember, most of the exports that India has seen on the electronic side happen to be smartphones, and Apple, being a US-based company, Tim Cook 3 months back coming to India, opening its first 2 stores. So we are talking about a positive sentiment, at least when it comes to trade between US and India. And this, of course, with Beijing not really entertaining US's demands, in as much measure as India would be ready to at this stage. So I think India, being an indispensable partner for the US, should mean better things to come when it comes to bilateral trade between India and US.
All right, and then of course one of the key discussions would also be with respect to debt in the developing countries, so debt restructuring when it comes to developing countries, as well as supply chain issues that Janet Yellen is going to be discussing with the finance ministers of G20 nations. This is good news for India, because after Janet Yellen went to Beijing, and many would say there wasn't a great reception, it's a red carpet from India once again.
Yeah, I mean, US would likely be consulting with the European Union and China, the two other biggest economic blocs in the world apart from Russia. They are consulting now with India, on these global issues. So that obviously that goes on to show the stature that India has now with respect to the rest of the world. So that is, of course, good news. The debt restructuring goes to is with the G20. Was a discussion with the G20 nations. I believe 2 MOUs also have been signed to basically facilitate cross-border payments. So yeah, it basically goes on to show India's stature in world economic issues right now.
All right. So Janet Yellen, of course, visuals on your screen, is currently in India. She is in Gandhinagar, where she made that important statement with respect to having India as an important player, an important friend for the US. We will keep bringing you all the details of her visit to India.